Welcome to the 3Ds of Advanced Care Planning, how to decide, discuss, and document your end-of-life wishes. My name is Garrick Colwell, and I'm an advanced care planning educator. I'm also the co-founder of Kitchen Table Conversations, a nonprofit organization that was created by my late wife and 20 other healthcare professionals for the purpose of educating people on how to complete their advanced care directives. Today, we'll be talking about the first of the 3Ds, which is decide, and this has been broken up into two parts. This will be part one, how to make sound decisions about your end-of-life wishes. Before we begin to get into the content, I'd just like to invite you to take a look at where we are right now. Maybe we could imagine that we're at the kitchen table about to have this wonderful conversation. We found a comfortable place to be. We have our favorite beverage handy. We've got notes we can take if we want on paper and pen. But before we do that, I invite you to pause this video and make sure you download the companion document for this video. And it can be found on the same page as you found this video. So take a moment, pause the video, download the companion document, and then we'll begin. Welcome back. So again, let's just take a moment to center ourselves. Remember to breathe. Also keep in mind that you can pause this video at any time to take notes or to record your reflections. Maybe record a question that you have that you want to get answered. And above all, make sure you take time. Take your time. This is a lot of information. It's very dense with information, so take your time, be good to yourself, pause, come back to it if you need to, but most importantly, take your time. So where do you begin deciding what your end-of-life wishes are? Well, I believe it's important for you to realize and to reconnect with the idea that you have a choice. And as Viktor Frankl says in his quote, forces beyond our control can take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. So you have a voice, particularly when it comes to your end-of-life wishes. It's your life, it's your body, which makes it your choice. So we start with the fact that it's your choice. As we approach this question, what matters to me at the end of life is? What matters to me at the end of life is? Let's take a moment and listen to Alua Arthur, who's a death doula, created a company called Going with Grace. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how to answer this question. What must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may live well and die gracefully?
A lot of times in my work, I go immediately to the foundational question, which is, what must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may live presently and die gracefully? I'm gonna run that back. What must I do? What must I do? This is not permissive. It is absolutely mandatory. What must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may live presently and die gracefully? That question, that answer, it varies for every single last one of us. But in my work, I've learned that there's a few things that really support people in getting clear on what those are. For many people, it's first about healing their relationships. They considered who they loved, how they loved, and were they loved. When also placing yourself on your deathbed, it's important to take a look around and see who it is that's surrounding you. What is your current state of relationship with those people? Current state of relationship with the people around you on your deathbed. For a lot of people, it's also about getting their affairs in order. Ooh, fun, paperwork. I'm not just talking about wills and trusts, but I'm also talking about advanced directives and advanced planning. Make sure the passwords are down. They want to know who has access to the retirement accounts and storage units and sentimental items, things of that sort. For others, it is about creating the deathbed. This is where it gets really juicy. Looking around, since we all got to do it, what's your most ideal way to die? Who's there? What does it smell like? What's the last thing you tasted? What do you hear? Fabric on your skin? Are your feet lotioned? Are you wearing lipstick, like my mother will be? For other people, it's about exploring consciousness and ideas about the afterlife, if any, okay? I'm gonna tell you a little secret. What I've learned is that in my practice, even the most religious amongst us start to question what lies after death. Ooh, tricky. Here's why. Beliefs remain beliefs until they are tested. When they're tested, we have some evidence for them. And right on the deathbed, they're about to get tested because she's about to find out real quick what's on the other side, right? And so people are like, I think, wait, no, maybe not. We're all gonna find out one day or another. For other people, it's about the unfinished business of living. That's a big category, like go to Machu Picchu, drink that bottle of wine from France, taste the milkshake from that corner store near your house when you were growing up, all the things that are left undone in life. I've been training death doulas for a while now, which is super fun, and we always bring it right back to who we have become through all the things that we've learned, through our experiences with death, certainly our experiences with life, our gifts, our skills, our talents. Who are we? Who have you become during this ride of life? And really, that's the overall arching question in this big question, is what version of yourself do you want to meet on your deathbed? What version of yourself are you right now? And what's in the gap? What's missing? I want to tell you a quick little story about a client I saw most recently. We're going to call her Ajwa because death doula ethics are a real thing. Thank you, the National End-of-Life Doula Alliance, called NEDA, for creating the doula ethics standards. Now, Ajwa was about 66 years old, and we'd spent a lot of time talking about her life, and we spent a lot of time preparing and doing all the business stuff. And so all that was left was the really juicy, interesting stuff. And at one point, she had a tumor. I asked her about that tumor. I said, what do you think this tumor's about? Because permission had already been granted to go there. And she looked me dead in my eye and said, this tumor came to remind me that I am a dynamic and resplendent human being. What? Yes, girl, yes, yes. But this was Ajwa answering for her death because of her life. She used her death to give her insight into what her life could and should have been. The opportunity is available for all of us all the time to reconcile that deathbed version with today's version. It's just up to us. The choice remains. The choice remains, and the answer is yours. My answer, that took that bus ride in Cuba, coming face to face with who I'd become through all of my life's experiences to get to the point where I know that on my deathbed, I want to arrive having lived fully in this body, no longer just a pinprick of life, but fully in this body, having used up every single little last bit of skill, gift, and talent that I've been given, using it in service of others, fully in service of others, so that I can reach the end of my life going gracefully, knowing that I was here, without a shadow of a doubt. I was fully here. That I was here. I was here. What's your answer? Thank you so much for giving me 14 minutes of your life.
So let's take a look and unpack a little bit of what she told us. Again, we're taking a look at this question and how we might be able to answer it for ourselves. What must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may die well, or live well and die gracefully? So she named 5 things: healing relationships, getting my affairs in order, creating the deathbed, exploring consciousness and the afterlife, if any, and unfinished business of living. So let's take a look at each one of those individually. So healing our relationships, her questions were who you loved, how you loved, were you loved, and what is the current state of your relationship with those around you? Number 2 is getting my affairs in order. How are your wills and trust in order? Have you done advanced care planning? Are your advanced directives completed? Where are your passwords? What are they? What are the access to your checking accounts, your retirement accounts, your savings account? I mean, oddly enough, what's happening with the storage unit? Who has access to that? Or how do you get access? And of course, the things that are sentimental that you want to pass on. Now, this is an interesting one, creating your deathbed. In other words, what it's going to be like. Who's going to be there? What does it smell like? Do you want to have incense, or do you want to have your favorite essential oils? What was the last thing you tasted? What is that? What is that going to be? What do you would like that to be? What do you hear? Perhaps you want some music. Maybe the type of music that you would like. What's the fabric on your skin? What kind of a clothing do you want to perhaps be wearing? You know, practically, are your feet lotioned, and are you wearing lipstick? So something to consider as to how that you want that to be. Exploring consciousness in the afterlife, if any. And her point was that even the most religious among us start to question what's on the other side when they're on their deathbed. Beliefs remain beliefs until they get tested, which of course is true. And we will find out more once we get on the other side, one way or the other. Everyone has an opportunity to find and test those beliefs. And the fifth was what is the unfinished business you may have? Or taking the trip that you wanted to go to Machu Picchu, did you drink that bottle of wine from France? Did you taste that milkshake, remember as a kid that you had from the corner store? And basically all the things that were left undone. So two perhaps more clarifying questions are, what version of yourself do you want to meet on your deathbed? And what version of yourself are you right now? So if you take a look at what it is that you'd like to be by the time you reach your deathbed, and what are you now, and what's in the gap? And so that begins to help frame what it is that you find most important to you as you approach the end of your life. Keep in mind, this conversation and these questions are really about not only your end of life, of course, but they're most about how you're living today. So how do we, again, answer this question, what matters most to me at the end of life is? Well, here's a couple of things to consider. So back to the question, what matters most at the end of life is letting nature take its course, preserving your quality of life. Many people think that, of course, they want that extra treatment, that everything done. But at the same time, you need to ask the question, what does that cost in my quality of my life? If I'm going to be sick because I'm going to go through another round of chemo, and I'm going to be sick right up until the moment I die because this chemo is the last chance, perhaps, of getting more life, the question is, what will that quality of life be? What will it cost me? So preserving quality of life, staying true to my spiritual beliefs and traditions, living as long as possible regardless of quality of life, certainly a choice. Again, these are decisions that you make for yourself. There's not any judgment. There is no right or wrong way to do this. This is just your way. Back to the point I was making earlier, it is your body, it's your life, it is your choice. Perhaps you want to be independent. Perhaps you want to be as independent as possible for as long as possible. Be, of course, comfortable and as pain-free as possible. That's what palliative care is for. Palliative care medicine is focused on providing comfort care during a chronic illness or at the end of life, and making sure that you don't have to unnecessarily suffer. Perhaps leaving good memories for your family and your friends, making a contribution to medical research or teaching, being able to relate to family and friends. I'll tell you a quick story. One of the most important things for my late wife was to be able to have the time, as her end of life was approaching, to be with family. And so that was really important to her. And so the last 2 or 3 weeks of her life here at the house, she basically, it was like people in and out all the time. I was the master scheduler. We wake up each morning, she'd tell me who it is that she'd like to see. I'd make phone calls and set up the times on when they can come. But the most important thing was that she wanted to be alert during this time. And so we figured out a way to not only give her pain medications, which made her groggy, but also to keep her awake and alert. And so she had a combination of methadone and morphine to manage her pain, but she also had Adderall a Ritalin to help keep her awake for a short period of time, typically 3 or 4 hours. She'd get about 10 milligrams in the morning, about 11 o'clock, and then people would start arriving around about 12 or so, between 12 and 1, and they leave between 4 and 5. She'd be done for the day. But that was really important to her, to be able to relate to her family and to her friends. And it was just a precious time for her, for me, for us to be able to share with others. You want to be free of physical limitations, perhaps. You want to be mentally alert and competent, as Kinsloe was. That was really important to her. And she was actually mentally alert and competent right up to her last breath. Being able to leave money to your family or friends, making sure that, you want to make sure those things are passed on in the proper way. Also, sentimental items. And that was the case with Kinsloe. Was there were a number of things that she wanted to make sure were passed on to certain people that had been passed on to her from her grandmother and her great-grandmother and her mother. And so that was real important. So those things are to be thought about ahead of time and decide what you want to do. Dying more quickly than lingering. Certainly that's a question as to whether you want to prolong the life based upon perhaps getting more life or more time here, but it may cost you in the quality of your life. So you've got to decide that based on talking with your healthcare professionals and really understand where you are at that stage of your life. Perhaps you want to be avoiding expensive care. Maybe that's something that is important to you. And so these are kind of ideas and thoughts that you can kind of work with and kind of decide on what makes the most sense to you as it relates to you coming to a point where you start answering what matters most at the end of life. Part of your homework is to, if you haven't already downloaded the companion document, which will include this document here, the Conversation Starter Kit from the Conversation Project, I suggest that you download this document and you begin doing the homework, begin walking your way through, reading your way through, making notes, and start really engaging in answering the question, what matters most to me at the end of life is. And this document will help you. We're going to come back to this document in subsequent videos. So you'll want to take it, make sure you download it, keep it handy, and make sure you have it with you as you watch the rest of in this video series. And along the way, if you have got questions, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. Also at Kitchen Table Conversations, we have a full webinar schedule that you can access. Those webinars are free, a more in-depth look at advanced care planning. And so please take advantage of one of those webinars perhaps. And also there's additional resources that you might want to take advantage of, and also including videos. But those are the things that you might find here at Kitchen Table Conversations. And again, please feel free to email me or give me a call, send me a text with any questions you may have after you watch this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.